The train station smelled like diesel and burnt sugar, like every lie Daniel had ever told me. I remember shifting my weight from one foot to the other, the handle of my suitcase biting into my palm as I watched him flash that smile. The one that didn't crinkle his eyes anymore, the one that had become a performance. "Stay here," he said, already stepping back, already leaving. "I'll grab us some water. Back in a minute." I should have known then. His hand brushed my shoulder. A ghost of a touch, like he was afraid I'd stain him. And then he was gone, swallowed by the crowd of strangers rushing toward platforms I couldn't read. The signs overhead blurred into gibberish. The announcements crackled in a language I didn't speak, and I stood there like some obedient dog, waiting for a master who'd already unchained himself. I counted the seconds, then the minutes. The station clock ticked like a bomb. People brushed past me, a woman laughing into her phone, a child dragging a stuffed bear by its ear, businessmen with their sleek briefcases, all of them with somewhere to be. And me. I had a husband who'd left me holding his luggage like a fucking porter. That's when I noticed it. His watch. The Rolex I'd bought him for our anniversary. To all the time we'll spend together, I'd said, like an idiot, was gone. His wrist was bare. And suddenly, the too quick kiss, the way he'd checked his phone 3 times in 5 minutes, the "just wait here, cat," like I was some inconvenient parcel he'd collect later, it all snapped into focus. A vendor called out, offering coffee in a language I didn't know. I shook my head, my throat too tight to speak. My phone buzzed, an email notification. From Elise Whitmore. Subject, confirmation. Flight 227. My fingers were numb as I opened it. 2 first-class tickets, Zurich to Bali, departing tonight. And then I laughed, a raw, jagged sound that made a passing couple flinch. Because of course it was Elise. Elise with her honey blonde hair and her, "Oh, Daniel, you're so brilliant" size. Elise, who'd just happened to book the same hotel as us in Paris last spring. The train station tilted around me. The noise, the screeching brakes, the garbled announcements, muffled into a dull roar. I looked down at Daniel's briefcase, the one he'd so carelessly left at my feet. "Oh, you stupid man." I crouched, popped the latches. Inside, his backup passport, a folder of company contracts, and a burner phone with 1 contact. E. The clock ticked. A train hissed on the tracks. And in that moment, I stopped being Catherine, the woman who waited. I became someone else entirely. Time stretched like taffy in that godforsaken station. The crowds thinned, the light shifted, and still I stood there, gripping Daniel's stupid leather briefcase like it might suddenly sprout answers. My phone screen stayed dark, no frantic calls, no panicked texts asking where I'd gone. Just silence. The kind that crawls under your skin and starts rearranging your bones. A janitor mopped nearby, his bucket sloshing grey water over tiles sticky with gum and spilled coffee. He glanced at me twice, the crazy woman planted by the arrivals board for 3 hours straight, but said nothing. Smart man. I wasn't in the mood for pity. The station's fluorescent lights flickered on as dusk bled through the skylights. Somewhere, a child wailed, the sound bouncing off the vaulted ceilings. I envied that kid. At least someone would come running when they cried. Then, a chime from my phone. Not a call, not even a text. Just an automated alert. Your shared cloud storage is almost full. Shared. With Daniel. My thumb moved before my brain caught up, jabbing at the notification. Our last synced folder blinked up at me. Business contracts. Private. The kind of bland label designed to make snooping eyes glaze over. Inside, scanned invoices, non-disclosure agreements, and then a PDF titled e.baliitinerary_final. The file opened with a tap. Flights, villa reservations, a sunset cruise booking for 2, all under Whitmore, E and Laurent D. The letters swam. Laurent, his mother's maiden name, the one he only used for offshore accounts and hotel bookings he didn't want traced. A train screeched into the platform nearby, brakes screaming like they were being murdered. The sound matched the white noise filling my skull. I scrolled further. Dinner reservations at some cliffside restaurant, a spa day, a handwritten note at the bottom. Can't wait to finally be together without pretending. The screen blurred. I blinked hard, expecting tears, but my eyes stayed dry. Funny how the biggest betrayals don't hurt at first. They just hollow you out, leaving a space where the pain will eventually grow. Across the concourse, a couple kissed by a departure board, her laughter ringing like wind chimes. I watched the man tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, the exact gesture Daniel used to do for me before meetings with Elise. The briefcase weighed nothing in my hand now, just dead leather and dead promises. I checked the time, 4 hours and 17 minutes since he'd walked away. That's when I noticed the security camera above me, its red light blinking steadily. Recording. Witnessing. I smiled right at it. Let him watch this part later. The briefcase lock clicked open with satisfying precision. Inside, the contents gleamed under the station's harsh lights, neat, organised, and stupidly incriminating. Daniel had always been meticulous, but arrogance makes even the smartest men careless. His backup passport felt heavy in my hands, the embossed gold letters catching the light. Laurent? Daniel Edward. I traced the raised letters with my thumb, remembering how he joked about getting it for emergencies. I doubted this was the kind of emergency he'd envisioned. Beneath it lay a manila folder thick with contracts. I flipped through the pages, my pulse kicking up as I recognized deal memos from his biggest clients, all marked confidential in angry red stamps. The kind of documents that could sink a company if they fell into the wrong hands. Or the right ones. The burner phone at the bottom practically vibrated with potential. A single contact, a single letter. E. I powered it on, my breath coming too fast. The home screen showed 3 missed calls, all from E, and 1 unread text from 20 minutes ago. Where are you? The car's waiting. The words burned through me. The car's waiting. Not our car. The car. As if I'd never been part of the equation. A train announcement blared overhead, last call for the 1915 to Zurich. The universe had a sense of humour. Zurich, where Daniel kept his office, his mistress, his other life. My fingers moved before I could second-guess them. I typed back, change of plans, meet me at the usual place in Zurich. Don't call, send. The reply came instantly. I smiled and shut the phone off. Let Elise panic. Let Daniel scramble. They deserved every second of uncertainty they'd given me tenfold. The ticket counter loomed ahead, its fluorescent sign buzzing like an angry insect. I approached with Daniel's emergency cash in hand, 5,000 euros neatly banded together. The clerk barely glanced up as I slid the bills across the counter. One way to Zurich. First class. The printer whirred, spitting out my ticket. The paper felt like a contract with my new self, one where I made the rules, where I held the power. As I boarded the train, I left Daniel's briefcase on the platform bench, its contents now significantly lighter. The passport and contract stayed with me. The burner phone? That went into the trash with a satisfying clatter. The train doors hissed shut behind me. Through the window, I watched the station lights blur into streaks of gold. Somewhere out there, Daniel was realizing his mistake. Somewhere, Elise was checking her watch. But me, I was already gone. Zurich greeted me with rain-slicked streets and the sterile glow of bank headquarters. The kind of city where money changed hands in whispers, and no one asked questions. Perfect. I checked into a hostel under the name Claire Laurent, close enough to Daniel's alias to feel like poetic justice, far enough removed to avoid suspicion. The room smelled of mildew and industrial cleaner, the mattress sagging like a tired sigh. It didn't matter. I wouldn't be sleeping anyway. The real work began at an internet cafe 3 blocks from the financial district. €20 bought me 3 hours at a terminal in the back corner, where the monitors didn't reflect in the windows. My fingers flew across the keyboard, resurrecting skills from my pre-wife days, when I'd worked in corporate compliance. Daniel's offshore account passwords were exactly where I knew they'd be, buried in the contracts I'd taken, disguised as client reference numbers. The first transfer was small, €5,000 to a new account under Claire Laurent. A test. It cleared in 12 minutes. The second transfer was for $50,000. The screen blinked approvingly. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. A shadow fell across my keyboard. That's either the world's most boring porn, or someone's about to have a very bad day. I slammed the laptop shut to find a lanky man with ink-stained fingers holding a chipped mug of coffee. His eyes, sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses, tracked to the corporate logo on my stolen files. Neither, I said, reaching for my bag. He slid into the adjacent chair without invitation. Leo, he said, offering a hand. When I didn't take it, he shrugged. I help people disappear, professionally. The laugh escaped before I could stop it. I don't need... You're using hotel Wi-Fi to embezzle from a man who owns 3 cybersecurity firms. He sipped his coffee. You need... Rain tapped against the windows. Somewhere, a printer word. Leo waited, his silence more persuasive than any sales pitch. I reopened the laptop. How much? His smile revealed a chipped canine. For you, free. He tapped the logo on my files. My sister worked at their London office. Last I heard, she's in Bali with some asshole's mistress. The universe didn't just have a sense of humour, it had perfect timing. By dawn, Claire Laurent had a birth certificate, a tax ID, and a backdated rental history. By week's end, she'd exist in every database that mattered. Leo's fingers danced across 3 keyboards simultaneously, weaving my new identity into the fabric of bureaucracy. One last thing, he said, handing me a prepaid phone. The trick to being a ghost? He powered it on. Never haunt the same place twice. Outside, the first bankers hurried to work, umbrellas bobbing like black mushrooms. I pocketed the phone and stepped into the crowd. Catherine was dead. Long live Claire. The offices of Voyage Elite stretched across the top floor of a glass tower overlooking Lake Zurich, all chrome and designer furniture that cost more than most people made in a year. Daniel's biggest competitor, his most hated rival, and now, my new employer. I adjusted the headset at my reception desk, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as a storm rolled across the water. The interview had been laughably easy. Claire Laurent's forged credentials were flawless, and desperation makes the best reference. 3 days of answering phones, scheduling meetings, and most importantly, listening. You'll want to see this. Marcus Reinhardt, Voyage Elite's founder, didn't look up from his tablet as I entered his office. The screen displayed a breaking news alert. Laurent travel stock plummets 12% after confidential client list leaks. I arranged my face into polite concern. That's terrible. Marcus's grin was all teeth. Isn't it? He tossed the tablet aside. Someone just handed us their entire playbook. The elevator pinged behind me. 2 men in tailored suits strode in, their voices sharp with excitement. The files are authentic, the taller one said. Every VIP client, every negotiated rate, even their acquisition targets. I poured coffee with steady hands, the steam curling like smoke signals. The mug trembled slightly as I set it before Marcus, not from nerves, but from the sheer effort of not laughing. Daniel's precious files, his crown jewels, currently being dissected by the people he hated most. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Leo. He's on the move, just landed at the airport. Marcus was still talking. Could approach their Asian partners directly now, cut them out completely. The storm hit the windows in a sudden downpour, turning the lake into a churning, grey beast. Perfect weather for chaos. "I found something else," I said softly. All eyes turned to me. Opening my laptop, I projected to the screen a series of emails between Daniel and a Dubai sheikh, the kind that hinted at certain flexible interpretations of international trade laws, the kind that got companies investigated. Marcus's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. "Where did you—" "A friend in IT noticed anomalies in their server backups." The lie slid out smoothly. "It seems Laurent Travel has been cutting corners." The room went quiet except for the drumming rain. Then Marcus set down his cup with a decisive click. "Call legal and the press." His gaze met mine, something new flickering in it. Respect. "Claire, isn't it? You just earned yourself an office." Outside, lightning split the sky. Somewhere across the city, Daniel would be stepping into a boardroom firestorm. I smiled and reached for the phone. Let the games begin. The resignation letter landed on Daniel's desk at 8:17 a.m. I knew the exact time because his CFO's assistant, a nervous woman named Greta who hated Elise, sent me a photo of the moment Daniel read it. His face, normally so carefully composed, twisted into something unrecognisable. "Effective immediately," the letter read. "I cannot, in good conscience, continue as CFO given the financial irregularities." Leo had done beautiful work with those irregularities. Phantom transactions, offshore transfers with Daniel's digital fingerprints all over them. A paper trail so obvious even the most incompetent auditor would spot it. By noon, the first news vans clustered outside Laurent Travel's headquarters. I watched the live feed from my new office, a modest space with a view of the building across the street where Daniel's silhouette paced behind his blinds. My phone lit up with another message from Greta. "Board emergency meeting. Elise just got escorted out by security." I sipped my espresso, savouring the bitter tang. The Bali photos had surfaced at just the right moment. Elise sunbathing on a yacht while company funds mysteriously paid for the charter. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence, and corporate sharks smell blood faster than piranhas. Marcus appeared in my doorway, tie loosened, eyes bright with victory. "You seeing this?" He tossed his phone onto my desk. The screen showed a Bloomberg alert. Laurent Travel Board votes to suspend CEO pending investigation. "I heard they're bringing in forensic accountants," I said mildly. Marcus laughed. "That company won't survive the week." He leaned in, smelling of expensive cologne and Schadenfreude. "We're hosting the Kensington Group tomorrow. Your work on the Laurent files impressed them." The Kensington Group, Daniel's most loyal investors. "I'd be honoured," I said. When Marcus left, I opened my bottom desk drawer. Inside lay a manila envelope, the one I'd mailed myself from the train station that first night. Daniel's passport stared up at me, his smug photo now a relic of a life collapsing in real time. My computer pinged. An encrypted email. From Leo, intercept successful. His personal accounts are drained. The numbers flashed on screen. Every hidden offshore account, every secret nest egg. All redirected to untraceable holding companies. All legally inaccessible while investigations continued. I closed the email and pulled up a new browser window. The Voyage Elite website glowed proudly. Our new partnerships page featuring 3 former Laurent Travel clients. Outside, the first raindrops hit my window. Across the street, Daniel's office lights flicked off. Somewhere beneath the hum of my computer, beneath the murmur of the news still playing on my second monitor, I thought I heard something break. Maybe a stock price. Maybe a man. I adjusted my blouse and went to prepare for tomorrow's meeting. The private jet's engines whined as we climbed through Zurich's morning haze. Marcus sat across from me, tapping his Mont Blanc against a proposal for our Tokyo expansion, the same city where Laurent Travel had just lost their flagship hotel contract. Kensington committed 30 million, he said, sliding the papers across the mahogany table, on one condition. I didn't need to ask. The investor memo in my lap said it all. Voyage Elite to acquire remaining Laurent assets in Asia. Ice clinked in my orange juice as turbulence jostled us. They want us to eat him whole. Marcus's grin was all teeth. We're just helping the market correct itself. The stewardess brought fresh coffee, her gaze lingering on the financial section spread between us. Daniel's face stared up from the page, older than I remembered, with new lines around his mouth that no amount of airbrushing could hide. The headline read, "Fallen Titan seeks White Knight." I folded the paper and handed it back. We're not knights. By the time we landed, my phone had buzzed 17 times with updates. The most satisfying came from Leo. His penthouse just went into foreclosure. The Tokyo skyline glittered as our motorcade swept into the city. At the peninsula, the concierge greeted me by name, Miss Laurent, and handed over a black envelope. Inside, a handwritten note from the sheikh whose deal I'd leaked months earlier. Your discretion is appreciated. My staff awaits your instructions. The ink smelled faintly of saffron and expensive decisions. That night, in a private dining room overlooking the city, 12 of Daniel's former clients toasted our new venture. Sake flowed as contracts were signed directly over the remnants of his empire. The Kensington Group's chairman, a wry Brit who'd lost millions on Daniel's collapse, leaned in during dessert. Rumour says Laurent's looking for a job in Dubai. I swirled my plum wine, watching the liquid cling to the crystal. I heard they don't issue work visas to people under investigation. His laughter drew stares from across the room. By month's end, Voyage Elite's valuation doubled. My office moved to the executive floor, with glass walls that showed the entire lake, and the crumbling Laurent building across the water. Some mornings, if I arrived early enough, I could see investigators carrying out boxes of files. Leo became our silent partner, his algorithms predicting travel trends before they happened. The system flagged an emerging market, female solo travellers seeking luxury security. We branded it Claire Class, private jets with panic buttons, hotels with discreet female concierges. The press called it revolutionary. Daniel called it theft. His single interview since the collapse ran in a struggling business weekly. The photo showed him sitting on a park bench, his once impeccable shoes scuffed at the toes. Someone systematically destroyed my life, the caption read. I had the article framed. When the Claire Class launch party lit up the Zurich Opera House, cameras caught me in a backless red gown standing beside Marcus. Reuters captioned it, Voyage Elite's Rising Star. Somewhere in the crowd, a reporter asked how it felt to surpass my former employer. I sipped champagne and smiled. Former? The courtroom sketch artist captured Daniel perfectly. The way his tailored suit now hung loose at the shoulders, the single streak of grey at his temple that hadn't been there 6 months ago. His lawyer's mouth moved soundlessly behind the bulletproof glass of my television screen, hands fluttering like injured birds as the judge read the verdict. Guilty on 3 counts of financial fraud. I muted the broadcast just as the camera cut to Elise sobbing in the back row, her Balmain dress wrinkled from sitting too long. The ticker at the bottom of the screen kept cycling through headlines. Laurent assets, frozen, extradition proceedings. Victims seek restitution. Leo's latest creation hummed on my desk, a custom algorithm tracking every dollar Daniel had ever hidden. The screen pulsed red as another offshore account was seized by authorities. His mother bailed out the penthouse, Leo said, tossing a surveillance photo onto my desk. The elegant older woman glared at the camera, her gloved hand signing paperwork with a banker. Paid in cash from her personal trust. I ran my finger along the photo's edge. Sophia Laurent had never approved of me. Now we had something in common. The intercom buzzed. Miss Laurent, The Wall Street Journal is here for your profile. The journalist arrived with a voice recorder and sharp eyes. She asked about Voyage Elite's explosive growth, about Claire Class, about being named one of Zurich's most influential women. Then, inevitably, what do you say to critics who claim you profited from Laurent Travel's collapse? Sunlight streamed through the windows, glinting off the framed article about Daniel on my shelf. I crossed my legs slowly, letting the silence build. I'd say the market rewards those who understand their clients' needs. I gestured to the Claire Class brochure on the table. Safety, discretion, certainty, things some companies forgot how to provide. Her pen hovered over her notebook. Any comment on Daniel Laurent's conviction? Ice clinked in my water glass as I took a sip. Justice has its own itinerary. The resulting article dubbed me the quiet storm of luxury travel, a phrase that went viral across business networks. By evening, my inbox overflowed with interview requests and investor inquiries. That night, as Zurich glittered below my penthouse, I scrolled through the latest updates. Daniel's mugshot had leaked online, his famous smirk replaced by a hollow stare. Comment sections filled with Schadenfreude. Karma's a bitch. Where's his gold digger secretary now? Hope he enjoys prison cuisine. My finger hovered over a gossip site's exclusive. Disgraced CEO's wife files for divorce. Cites abandonment. The photo showed Elise boarding a flight to Argentina, her face hidden behind oversized sunglasses. The balcony doors rattled as a spring storm rolled in. Rain sheeted across the glass, distorting the city lights into watery streaks. Somewhere out there, Daniel sat in a holding cell, finally understanding what it felt like to be left with nothing. I closed the browser and picked up the phone. Marcus, let's discuss the Dubai expansion. Thunder shook the windows as I began drafting an offer for Laurent Travel's remaining assets. The perfect addition to our Claire collection. The Interpol warrant arrived on a Tuesday morning, thick ivory paper embossed with official seals, delivered by a stone-faced officer who refused coffee. I watched from the private screening room of Voyage Elite's headquarters as Daniel was escorted through Heathrow's Terminal 3 in handcuffs, his once impeccable hair now greasy under the fluorescent lights. The cameras caught the exact moment he spotted the press scrum, his shoulders tightening before he forced his chin up, that old arrogance flickering to life like a faulty neon sign. Leo's fingers flew across the keyboard beside me, pulling up real-time financials. They just froze his mother's trust, he murmured. Every last Swiss franc. On screen, a reporter shouted a question about extradition. Daniel turned toward the voice, his lips parting, then froze as his gaze snagged on something off camera. The footage zoomed in on his face draining of colour. I knew what he'd seen before the camera panned. There, on the departures board behind him, flickered a single line in bold letters. BA 227. To Bali boarding. The same flight number from Elise's itinerary. The same destination where she'd been photographed last week draped over a Swedish financier. Daniel's knees buckled. The officers caught him by the elbows. But the damage was done. The video went viral before his plane even took off for the extradition hearing. Memes proliferated. When the karma hits too hard. Laurent's final descent. My phone lit up with Marcus' latest acquisition offer for the Laurent family villa in Nice. I declined with a single tap. Some things were better left as ruins. The news cycle moved fast. By afternoon, the BBC was running a segment on female entrepreneurs outpacing old boys clubs, using my Claire Class initiative as their prime example. The reporter called it a masterclass in turning pain into power. I switched off the television as they aired Daniel's perp walk again. The game was over. The house had won. Outside, Zurich sparkled under a merciless blue sky. Somewhere beyond those mountains, a man who'd once left me stranded, now sat in a cell, finally understanding what it meant to watch the world move on without you. I reached for the champagne flute sweating on the console, then paused. Instead, I poured a glass of mineral water, the bubbles crisp and clean against my tongue. No bitterness, no aftertaste, just clarity. Monaco's harbour glittered like a spilled jewellery box, mega yachts bobbing under the weight of their own opulence. I adjusted my sunglasses as Leo handed our daughter a lemon gelato, her small fingers already sticky from the croissant she'd demolished. The cafe terrace smelled of espresso and salt water, of money and forgetting. Then I saw him. Daniel materialised between two parked Lamborghinis, his once signature navy blazer replaced by an ill-fitting linen shirt. The years had carved new hollows beneath his cheekbones, his posture slightly hunched as if expecting a blow. He stared at our table with the desperate intensity of a man seeing a mirage. Leo tensed beside me. Want me to... No. I dabbed gelato from Sophie's chin. Let him look. Daniel wove through the cafe tables, his breathing audible when he reached us. Up close, I could see the frayed collar, the scuff on his loafers. His gaze darted from my diamond wedding band to Sophie's curls, the same shade his used to be before the grey took over. Cat. His voice cracked on the syllable. Sophie looked up, her smile fading at the stranger's intensity. Leo placed a protective hand on her shoulder. Daniel swallowed hard. I just wanted to... A bodyguard materialised between us, his bulk blocking Daniel's advance. Madame doesn't speak to strangers. The word hung in the humid air. Stranger, as brutal as any courtroom verdict. Daniel's mouth worked silently, his eyes darting to the headlines of my abandoned newspaper. Voyage Elite acquires rivals Asian holdings. My face smiled up from the accompanying photo. Sophie tugged my sleeve. Maman, can we see the dolphins? I stood without glancing back, tucking her sticky hand into mine. Leo dropped a €100 note on the table, enough to cover our coffees and the shattered illusion behind us. As we walked toward the harbour, the scent of Daniel's old cologne, something woody and expensive, briefly cut through the salt air. Then the wind shifted, carrying it away. Sophie skipped ahead, her sundress fluttering like a victory flag. Somewhere behind us, a chair scraped loudly against stone. I didn't turn around. The past was only ever supposed to be a place you visited, never a home. The memoir gala was a sea of champagne flutes and whispered compliments, the kind of event where the air itself smelled like success. I stood at the podium, my fingers brushing the embossed cover of Departure Times, its title gleaming under the crystal chandeliers. The crowd hushed as I adjusted the microphone. Someone once told me life is about the journeys we take, I began, my voice carrying through the silent ballroom. Cameras flashed like distant lightning, but they never mentioned what happens when someone pushes you off the train. A ripple of laughter moved through the audience, nervous from the financiers, knowing from the women in the front row. My editor had begged me to soften that line, but I'd fought to keep it. Truth deserved its sharp edges. Spotlights warmed my skin as I read the final passage. The station where he left me had 17 platforms. I could have boarded any train, the one back to who I was, the one leading nowhere, or the one I created myself, so I built my own damn locomotive. The applause crashed over me in waves. Across the room, Leo winked from his place near the exit, our now 6-year-old Sophie perched on his shoulders, clapping with frosting-stained fingers. The after-party swirled with celebrities and CEOs, all eager to claim 5 minutes with the woman who'd turned betrayal into a billion-dollar empire. A literary critic cornered me by the ice sculpture, gushing about the memoir's brave vulnerability. I smiled and thanked her, my gaze catching on a breaking news alert flashing across a waiter's phone screen. Disgraced CEO Daniel Laurent denied early release. The ice sculpture dripped steadily between us, its intricate train design slowly dissolving into a puddle of what might as well have been tears. By midnight, the crowd had thinned. I slipped out onto the rooftop terrace where the city lights stretched endlessly below. Sophie's laughter floated up from the hotel suite where Leo was putting her to bed, the sound lighter than anything from my past. My phone buzzed with a calendar alert. Tomorrow, Sophie's first day of school. Beneath it, another notification. Voyage Elite Q3 earnings call. And, lower still, an email from Marcus about our new Maldives resort. No missed calls, no loose ends. The night air carried the distant whistle of an actual train leaving the central station, its rhythm steady, confident, exactly on schedule. I leaned against the railing, the memoir's dedication page flashing through my mind. For the man who taught me to travel light. Inside, Sophie's voice rose in protest about bedtime. Leo's deep chuckle followed, then the familiar creak of storybook pages turning. Some stories end with revenge, some with forgiveness. Mine. It didn't end at all. It simply became the view from where I'm standing now,